Okay, homie, let's load this shit up.
Is this a joke?
Oh shit, here we go again.
55 quid. 55 British pounds sterling is what I paid for the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. Definitive Edition. Some name is that. According to collinsdictionary.com, something definitive provides a firm conclusion that cannot be questioned. Well, Rockstar, have we got some fucking questions for you? There's no doubt that most of you will have seen the backlash from the release of the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. It's been a fucking shit show. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that these games are completely unplayable, because they're not. You're likely to still have somewhat of a good time playing them, especially San Andreas, but these are not by any stretch of the imagination the definitive way to play these games. Far fucking from it. In fact, with all the fucking iterations and ports of these games now, I honestly just suggest playing the originals. Although, if you are out for a fucking laugh and you're willing to let some of your fondest childhood gaming memories be burnt to ashes, then yeah, play the Definitive Edition. I mean, what the fuck is going on? I'm still adjusting to the fact that CD Projekt Red have turned themselves into a fucking joke. I don't need it to be happening to Rockstar as well. Rockstar is supposed to be the glue holding all this shit together. Whilst other companies are out there releasing fucking unfinished games and shamelessly cash grabbing with yearly releases just barely different from the version that came before it, Rockstar stood tall above the rest. The GTA series is an entity unto itself. Every time a GTA game comes out, the world just kind of stops. Nothing else matters. Nothing else compares, and nothing else sells as many fucking copies. There's one simple reason for this. Well, I say simple, it's actually incredibly impressive. But it's that every time a new GTA game comes out, it's always head-scratchingly ahead of its time. Not just by a little bit either. These games are usually top of the pile for at least a few years after they come out. In fact, in GTA 5's case, we're now over 8 years since its release, and its graphics, gameplay, story, everything about it not only still holds up, but is still talked about amongst the best and most relevant games in 2021. It's like the Rockstar seal of approval. They just don't release games without this certain level of finesse and quality, this standard that permeates through all the games that they've released before. Which is why it comes as a surprise to many that the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition is a fucking wreck. It's a wreck. They recently responded to this with a post and a patch, so there's the potential that some of the things that I highlight in this video may have already been fixed by the time the video comes out, but at the very least, this video is going to serve as a reminder to us all of what standard the game was at when they released it, and what standard Rockstar and Grove Street Games thought that it was acceptable to release. So Rockstar, it is with a heavy heart that I have to do this, but you made your bed and now you have to rebuild it from fucking scratch. I've kindly compiled you a list of all the things that I experienced wrong with the GTA Trilogy so you can fix them. So here it is, 55 things wrong with the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. And the worst thing is, there's probably a shitload more. Enjoy. Okay, I'm putting this one first because it was literally just about the first thing that happened to me. I just jumped back into the world of GTA 3 for the first time in like 15 years, and I just decided that I wanted to just drive around the first island on it and sort of reacquaint myself with the world. Well, I didn't think I was going to get to see it like this. There's a fucking hole in the floor. It's not a wall break, there's no special thing you have to do or unique way you need to approach this thing. It's simply a hole in the ground where the developers forgot to put any collision detection. Great fucking start. Call me a nitpicker for this one, but honestly, this is just indicative of the amount of effort that was put into remastering this trilogy. They've used the San Andreas sound effects in the menus, both for GTA 3 and GTA Vice City. Why? It's fucking lazy. And they already had their own menu sounds. would it have been that hard? So part of what they've done when remastering these games is that they've loaded up the contrast in the games. It makes sense, back in the PS2 days, games kind of look washed out, and nowadays we have the ability to make games really pop. You know, just making it so everything doesn't look like it has a grey filter sat on top of it. I support this decision, except when you just copy and paste it uniformly across the whole fucking game, without accounting for the dark areas and scenes which require things to be brighter in order to, you know, see anything. Teleportation. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Teleportation. But no, I'm not talking about a fast travel mechanic or anything like that. I'm talking about when your character or your car gets itself in a position where the game doesn't know what to do with itself. It just fucking teleports you somewhere different. So at number 5, there's no fog or haze effects in the game anymore, just completely removed them. It's not only just unnecessary and again lazy, but brings up 2 distinct problems. The first being that the fog and haze in these games gave atmosphere and are part of their iconic identity. But secondly, and perhaps more seriously, is that the fog helped reduce the distance that players could see clearly. It gave the impression that the world didn't have an obvious edge and allowed textures in the distance to be low resolution without looking stupid. And here it is in 2021, looking fucking stupid. This leads me nicely onto my next point, which is that, yeah, they have increased the draw distance so that if we want to, we can see the entire map. But the distance textures are fucking awful. Like, fucking commit to it, man. If you're gonna drastically increase the draw distances, then drastically increase the texture quality of the things that you can see in the distance. What's the point in being able to see for miles if the things that you can see look like molten fucking garbage? What is that? So you may remember in the originals, by blasting over ramps and getting some big air, you can earn yourself a unique stunt bonus. It's just money for landing the jumps, or in this case, not landing the jumps. It's fucking dumb. Even if I completely total my vehicle or come off my bike, I'm still going to be rewarded the unique stunt bonus. I don't know if they thought this was an improvement or if it was a mistake or what, but I hate it. Another small detail that annoys me is that the clouds don't move. They're static. They change, but they are static. I know it's only a small thing, may seem like I'm being overcritical, but if it was in the original and wasn't something that was broken, then the least I expect is it to be in the fucking definitive edition. These games are fucking 20 years old. Why are you taking things out of them? The rain. Oh my days, the rain. Look at this shit. This shit needs to come with a seizure warning or something. It's awful, like genuinely uncomfortable to play the game when it's raining. Number 10 is just generally janky physics with fragile objects, like pieces of your car that can come off or things you can knock loose in the environment, like traffic lights, lampposts, trash cans. More often than not, or at least often enough for me to expect something to have been done about it, they'll just kind of prang out and do something weird, like stick to your vehicle or just do funky stuff. Leads nicely onto number 11, which is that sometimes these fragile objects, when they're not doing janky stuff, they just fall right through the floor. They just fall through the floor of the game. What I can only assume is a test marker has been put in the centre of the map on San Andreas and just left there. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't trigger anything, it just exists, and it's annoying. The next thing is frame rate. Like, I know graphical improvements have been made to these games, but let's be honest, even in their current state, these are not the peak of graphical capabilities in 2021. Not even close. Nor are these the largest games going. And I know that these aren't the only things that impact on frame rate, but particularly on GTA 3, the oldest one of the three, sometimes the frame rate drops below 30, which I don't need to tell you is just fucking downright unacceptable for a remastered game running on a PS5. This is going to annoy you if you haven't seen it already, because once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it drives you insane. It's this weird motion blur effect behind cars, particularly fast ones. In the originals there was so much fucking motion blur and it muddied everything, but by the time we got to San Andreas things had improved and the motion blur in fast cars kinda looked cool, like implied the speed that you were travelling, but what is this? It's just fucking annoying, it doesn't make anything better, it kinda looks like a glitch or a bug. Maybe it is. You can hear noises underwater, like as if you weren't underwater, as if there was no water there at all. Lazy. So remember mutilating cars with the monster truck on San Andreas? Well, I think it's better for me to just show you this one.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
I'm going to tackle the next 3 in one go here because they're all audio related issues. Yes, audio issues in a game released in 2021. Anyway, 17 is just general audio compression. It just sounds bad in places, compressed and squashed. 18 is the fact that at the end of some cutscenes, the voices just get cut off as the screen fades out.
Let's go, bitch.
19 is the audio syncing to the lips in the cutscenes. Sometimes it's just way off.
And you'll see how we triad settle things without recourse to unnecessary violence.
Alright, I'll ride with you.
Some of this is just ridiculous. The burger doesn't rotate in San Andreas. A small detail, but just fucking absolutely no excuse for this to be ignored. Look at this. This is a car in the ceiling. It's like Cyberpunk 2077-esque, but on a 20-year-old game. So in the mission Copland on Vice City, Tommy and Lance have to disguise themselves as cops. And Grove Street Games seem to have given Tommy a whole new character model for this outfit, just so it looked right. But for Lance, they've just kind of stuck it over the original character model and yeah, doesn't look right. It looks like fucking Slender Man. So another problem I noticed on Vice City is that the streets are fucking bustling. Now that's not a problem per se, it makes the world look busier and I like that. But the thing is, there's certain side missions in the game called rampages and these overpopulated streets just make these rampage missions so easy. Just crowds of like 20 people huddled together and you can just mince through them all. Job done. Number 24 is Buggy Npc Animations. And I feel a little bit guilty putting this one on the list because it just brought me so much fucking joy seeing how ridiculous some of these were. But despite the genuinely rib-aching laughter you'll get out of these, it's just wrong, isn't it? This kind of thing is just wrong. Sometimes this happens. Oh my god, these fucking yellow barriers in GTA 3, the bane of my existence. So the collision detection isn't the same size as the object. It makes me wonder how much of the game was actually put together by human touch and how much of it was done using like automation or some like copy and paste algorithm. I don't know, okay? Not a programmer. I just refuse to believe that these kinds of mistakes were made by human hands and then just left unrectified. Handed in like lazy last minute homework hoping the teacher won't notice that you basically just didn't do it. Gun controls. We were promised GTA 5 style gun controls. The only thing that makes these anything like GTA 5 controls is the fact that the controls have been remapped to the triggers. They feel fucking awful and the auto aim is fucking ridiculous. Welcome to Quick Tips brought to you by Video Game Therapy. If you're playing these games on console, then the auto aim feature will be switched on in settings. Go in there and turn it off. It'll improve your playing experience immensely. It'll make the shooting feel much closer to Grand Theft Auto 5, which is what was promised in the fucking first place. So why say you're gonna do it, almost do it, and then add a function that is turned on by default that undoes what you said you were going to do? So in parts of the game you're going to experience stuttering. It's clearly some sort of performance issue. It didn't happen to me all that much on the PS5, but I've seen people on lower spec PCs and last gen consoles complaining about this a lot more. But the fact that a remastered game of this graphical quality is stuttering at all on a PS5 is just completely baffling. What in the fuck is going on with CJ's neck, specifically when he's shooting? Wow, my god. This is the main character, whose character model is distorting when he uses the gun in an action game. How did this shit pass the testing phase? So there's a bunch of songs that have been removed from the game, I think about 20 in total. And I get it, it's copyright and everything, it's like notoriously a difficult thing to manage. In fact, it's really quite impressive that Rockstar got all the rights that they did to use the songs in the originals. And even still impressive that all but 20 songs made it into the remaster. The annoying thing is that the 20 tracks have been removed without any replacements. It's just another example of the corner cutting that's been made in pushing this game out. Okay, this one really baffles me. So there's a full bridge in San Andreas that just doesn't pop in most of the time. The thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong because I can't find any footage of the original, but I'm pretty certain that this happened on the original. So that makes this a 17-year-old bug that has still gone unfixed. General body distortions is number 32. I know that we just pointed out CJ's neck a few back, but this shit is prevalent throughout. In the original San Andreas, if you took damage on a plane, you'd get these horrifying plumes of black smoke. Quite realistic for a PS2 game, in my opinion. The thicker and darker the smoke got, the more fucked you knew you were. It was genuinely pretty terrifying. Well, check out the updated animations on the definitive edition. You couldn't write this shit, honestly. Also, whilst we're at it, in the original San Andreas, if you shot out windscreens of cars, you got this little glass shattering animation. It wasn't anything special, even back in 2004. What is special though is the decision to omit that from the definitive edition. If you shoot a windscreen out in 2021, poof, vanishes. There's points in the game where environmental sound effects are either missing or just don't trigger. Like a fire will start and there's no fire noise, or an explosion will happen and there's no explosion. The punch bags. The fucking punch bags no longer move, but they did in the original. Trying to keep my sanity. Stormy weather just looks pathetic. Maybe it was the general blur of the PS2, but it's so much better here. So this one kind of branches off from the decision to omit fog and haze from San Andreas, but if you fly up high enough, you can just literally see the edge of the fucking map. The square, jagged edge of the map. It's a flat earther's wet dream, the literal end of the map. Like, surely something could have been done here. Just fade it out or something rather than this abrasive, jagged edge. Some of the most fun to be had in the GTA sandboxes is by using cheat codes. Endless fun we had back in the day making heads bigger, giving myself infinite health, all weapons and so on. So I was elated to find out that the cheat codes from the originals would still work in the remasters. Then I was almost immediately upset to find out that they'd removed some of them. And the worst bit is that they wouldn't tell us which ones. So I'll tell you. GTA 3 has cut 2 cheats, good ones as well. Flying cars and invisible cars have been cut from Grand Theft Auto 3, which is ironic because they managed to leave invisible floors in. GTA Vice City is missing big wheels, invisible cars and armed women. So San Andreas, strap in for this one. The cheats that are missing are Adrenaline Mode, Beach Party, Bunny Hop High, cars float when hit, flying cars, invisible cars, destroy cars, full weapon aiming while driving, infinite health, kill CJ, maximum sex appeal, no hunger, ninja pedestrians, improved handling, recruit anyone with rockets, spawn jetpack, and then 3 themes: kinky, rural, and funhouse. In GTA 3, cars' tail lights don't come on at nights unless you're braking, but guess where they did come on? In the 20-year-old original. Yes. So co-op mode in San Andreas has gone, removed, deleted. This isn't a small thing. This is a fan favourite feature, a big feature, a potentially big selling point for this game. Rockstar, Grove Street, come here, I've got a secret for you. You know how GTA Online is super successful, like beyond your wildest dreams? That's because people love playing these games with their fucking friends, online, together, in the same server. In GTA 3, they've removed the trash that was floating around in the streets. I never thought I'd miss trash, but I do. Everything just looks so fucking clean. It may sound dumb, but it does strip some of the intended atmosphere out of the original Liberty City. The waypoints in these games have a fucking mind of their own. So sometimes I've had it where I've set a waypoint and it's just removed itself. Other times random environmental events just override the waypoints that I've set. And the worst one, during missions, particularly missions where you're required to find something, the waypoint you've set will occasionally override the mission waypoint, meaning you think you're going to the mission, but you're actually driving to the waypoint you set for a completely different reason. The game crashes. It's the age-old problem with video games, innit? If something's crashing this frequently, then there's something fucking wrong, i.e. it's not ready to be released. Okay, this is taking a minute, so quick fire round incoming. Buy the GTA Definitive Edition now for just 55 quid. The definitive way to play. Now with no cinematic camera. Remember how you could boost the bass in certain cars on San Andreas? Not anymore. Now with floating characters. Health displays for NPCs? You don't need that. Remember those pesky birds in the sky? We've taken care of that. Not a single bird in the sky. All of this and less for just $54.99. Seriously though, we have to talk about the price. How are they charging $54.99 for this? I mean, even if the game worked, I thought there was an unwritten rule about remasters being cheaper than full AAA titles. So number 52, remember earlier on I talked about how clearly some sort of automation or algorithm had been used to apply things into this game. Well, here's another obvious example. Some of the companies and advertisements in the game world are misspelled. Again, I refuse to believe that this was a mistake made by human hands. It's just fucking obvious. Some sort of text recognition software has been used here and it's made some glaring mistakes. Just 3 more to go, and these last 3 are the ones that really irked me the most, to be honest. 53 is the fucking popping. There's no fucking reason to have popping this bad in this game. The draw distances have been smashed into oblivion, but the detail within that draw distance has been completely overlooked, and it makes the popping look fucking horrendous. It's unforgivable, and it will have been in the eyeline of any QA tester. It's pathetic. This one genuinely infuriated me. There's a glitch on the game which fucks with the accuracy of the enemies, in the sense that it turns them into fucking Robocop. They don't miss a fucking shot. Nightmare. And finally, at number 55 is the barefaced audacity of calling this game the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. There is nothing definitive about this edition. Corners have been cut, content has been cut, even the physical edition wasn't ready to be released when you release the game. These games are cherished pieces of gaming history and many people's childhoods. Rockstar, you are at fault for allowing this to pass and allowing this to be released. You're also at fault for trusting Grove Street Games to be able to do these games justice when really they've only ever worked on mobile games before this. It's just bad. It's just bad. And I said this last year when Cyberpunk came out, that I hoped that this wasn't a sign of the times and a sign of where video games are going. Yet here we are, 1 year on. Anyway, I know they've put a patch out now, so I'm hoping that some of this shit has been fixed in that patch. I mean, there could be a bunch more things that are wrong with this game. These are just the ones that I have come across. I do plan to dive back in the coming days and see if it's improved, but I've just been so busy with YouTube work and band stuff lately that the only game I've had time to play is Slay the Spire for like an hour before I go to sleep on the Switch. Speaking of band stuff, my band Beauty School have just released our first single and dropped our first video, so I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to go check it out. That would be awesome. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'd love to know what you guys think of this situation, so please let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you found any glitches, bugs or things missing that I didn't cover in this video. I'd also love to hear about those as well. Rockstar, please fix this. Order needs to be restored to the video game world. This culture of releasing unfinished games is just getting fucking out of hand now. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.
Let's go.